Right then, let's start tonight over in West Africa. Ghana's new president may review the country's $918 million program with the International Monetary Fund, as it may need a lot more money for its planned spending program. Now, the three-year program of the IMF imposes some fairly strict targets on revenue collection and expenditure. It aims to reduce inflation, public debt and the budget deficit and grow Ghana's economy at the same time. Now, economists say the fund simply cannot change its overall program objectives, but interim targets can be modified in light of Ghana's performance. As a result, this new government could effectively negotiate some less onerous conditions within the structure of the deal struck by the previous government. In an indication that this may happen, the new government says the budget deficit stood at around 8% at the end of 2016. That's much higher, however, than the 5.3% that was targeted under the IMF program. Daniel Rangers joins me now live from Washington, D.C. with more data on this story. Daniel, have the Ghanaian authorities at this point in time reached out to the IMF in order to actually tell them, hey, we'd like to renegotiate the terms of this particular deal?
The indications are that they have, and that the IMF's reciprocated by making practical arrangements to go to the country. The IMF tells me February the 6th to February the 10th. So early next month, in order to begin the discussions. There then will be a follow-up meeting of staff of the IMF. I assume that what they want to do is to get a much better grip on the new administration and what kind of plans they have in store, and as well to get a sense of where the Ghanaian economy is currently headed, some of the dynamics that we would expect to see on revenue and on, the level of the budget deficit. Yes, we have a strong indication that they won't be able to meet that budget deficit, but the IMF, I think, is willing to engage on these issues moving forward, and eventually they will get to what they call an Article 4 consultation, which is a thorough sort of report that the IMF country chief will put together and then put to the board, and that will be the formal arrangement going forward for the future.
Indeed. This at its core level, this boils down to a couple of things. It's essentially a loan from one party to another. Fairly easy for us to go to a bank and renegotiate terms, but is there precedent for this kind of thing, renegotiating a loan agreement struck between a fund and a country due to a change in government?
I think the answer is it depends on the sincerity of the reforms that the IMF staff officials think that the new government will implement in order to bring under control some of the debt, to address for the medium to long term some of the underlying issues, including corruption, transparency, oil revenues, and the way that they collect tax. All of those things go into a big picture assessment that the IMF will do in order to decide whether they can be more flexible moving forward. The idea is not that they are sort of like this headmaster that's imposing rules for no particular reason. What they want is for the people of Ghana to be served well by the new administration and to reach a sustainable position where they have both social spending in line and maintained, but at the same time they begin to address some of the underlying causes of why Ghana's got into this position in the first place, and whether that is something that they have acknowledged and addressed in their plans going forward. So this is something that they can be flexible about, but the degree of flexibility, I think, depends on the assessment of the IMF about how credible those plans are moving forward.
Indeed. We'll leave it there for the time being. Thank you for that. That's Daniel Rangers, of course, live in Washington.